90% of its art, and it found its room in stolen art in the West as well as with governments. Keep in mind that art and architecture both, mankind has spent a lot of time in, if you go to, mashallah, to Istanbul, where I recently was, and I visited the Topkapi Palace, and I've done it quite a few times in my life, the architecture itself is something which you look back and you see if 1,000 years ago people could do this, and how did they learn? And architecture moved, modified itself, became more beautiful as materials came into the hand of humans. For example, when steel was not there, you see, you go to Istanbul, for our guests are here from Istanbul, you look at the arches and the way the small arches support the big arches, and finally the big dome, and that's a beautiful piece of architecture. So I've been fond of architecture, looking at things and looking at the beauty of architecture. The history in Kashmir starts from the Muslim heritage, actually starts from Mirza Haider, who came from Ladakh in 1532, and then afterwards, from approximately the 1580s, Akbar the Great, Akbar-e-Azam, included Kashmir in the Mughal Empire until 1819 or about 1820, when around that time and later, when Kashmir was sold to the Dogra rulers for a pittance. You can't sell people and land. You can sell land, but you can't sell people along with the land. And today we are suffering from those decisions with which happened at the time of partition and should not have happened. And we went to the United Nations, of course, you remember, all of you, the resolutions of the United Nations, and we trusted the United Nations, and it's not rising to the occasion. I'm sorry to say that. It's not rising to the occasion because of vested interests or whatever interests, but people of Pakistan trusted that there will be a plebiscite in Kashmir and the issue will be settled. When you don't settle issues, they tend to fester, they tend to create animosity, they destroy the people. But you can't suppress people, keep that in mind. Nobody can suppress people, and it's not only true for Kashmir, it may be true for Palestine, it was true for the Jewish community and the Jewish people in Europe. The Muslims helped them, the Muslims adopted them. When the Muslims conquered Spain, they involved all the Jewish population into the governance, and whenever they were under pressure in the Christendom, the Jewish people migrated towards the Muslim lands and they were given protection. But at a certain time in history, in the last century, it was thought that the Jewish population can be suppressed. It didn't matter. So many of them were killed, maybe in millions, but the Jews were never suppressed. Similarly, in Palestine, you cannot suppress the people. It's impossible to suppress the people. They are in tremendous misery, and I'm trying to draw the same thing towards Kashmir. People in Palestine are under tremendous misery, and I make a statement usually that as soon as a child is born and he's able to pick up a stone, he picks up a stone and throws it at the oppressors. The similarity to Kashmir is there, but both of these places, Azad Kashmir and not Azad Kashmir, occupied Kashmir and Palestine, is not visible to the world. So art and architecture and culture, both, cannot be separated from people, number one. Number two, while we talk about Kashmir art and architecture, we should remember, we can look at the beauty. There's so many valleys which are beautiful. There are forts, there are caravansarais, there are baulis, wooden mosques, everything. And I've been a tourist. I visited Kale, the Neelam Valley, maybe in the 70s and 80s. And since then, I'm an admirer of natural beauty. Together with that natural beauty, the people develop skills and art. For example, what has been displayed outside for the world to see. And that art becomes a particular inheritance from father to son or mother to daughter, and then it goes continuously, and we can see that in the beautiful pieces which are made there, as well as paintings and art. At the same time, Shafqat Saab is my passionate friend. He has education, and we thought that education is devolved. What will Shafqat do? And Shafqat turns around and gives a message of improvement and change in education, and also as a matter of heritage. Shafqat Sahab, I just visited Mangla and the Rohtas Fort. And I was so impressed by the fact that there are remnants of the time when Alexander came in that region. And it is a beautiful place, beautiful thing which has to be preserved. And if you don't preserve it, well, what happens? People start encroaching, and there's a colony inside the fort. And when I was asked to write comments, I wrote a comment that the people inside the colony, of course, preserve the fort, but somehow the other, if the government can compensate them and develop the fort as a tourist attraction, it is a very beautiful place. And similarly, there are so many places. Rohtas fort either is in Azad Kashmir itself or just on the border between Punjab and Kashmir and Bangla. When borders were not drawn like this, borders were there, were a little flexible. So it is a part, in that way is a part of the Pakistan-Kashmir heritage. As I go on, there are a few things which are mentioned here. One is xenophobia and Islamophobia. And today I spoke at the Namal University Convention. I was talking about 2 or 3 things which Pakistan takes pride on. And I must mention it. I am desperate. I mention it everywhere. So you folks should not be deprived of that also, of what I think regarding what has happened as far as Islamophobia and xenophobia is concerned. I take pride, and I mention it again and again because I want it instilled in the Pakistani people. We are proud Pakistanis who accepted Afghan refugees to the tune of 3.5 million. And not a word came out of Pakistan or the Pakistani politicians or anybody. And you read the press that we don't want the refugees in Pakistan. We never said that because the humanity is something which is indigenous to us in our culture, in our Islamic culture. 3.5 million. And they've been there for 3 decades. 2.5 million are still here. Our brothers in Turkey today are hosting almost 3.5 million refugees from Syria. And imagine the world which has been giving lessons to us about humanity and about democracy. And they don't want to accept refugees. If one country says we can't expect more than 1,500 refugees, imagine, shameful. I don't think that should happen in a civilized world.